Um, so welcome to our heat pump water heater webinar. I'm going to ask real quick if anybody else sees the black screen,
Yeah.
but Tim's
Yep.
fixing it, it looks like. Okay. Thanks for coming today. A couple housekeeping items. If you'd like to ask a question in person, feel free to raise your hand and I'll allow you to talk. Tim has a, I don't know, 30-ish minute presentation or so and plenty of time for questions. So feel free to put questions in the Q&A box or the chat box or just raise your hand. And I'm going to hand it over to Mary to introduce Tim for us today. Mary's with Holy Cross Energy. Thanks, Mary.
Hi, everybody. I think everybody knows me, so I won't have to go into too much detail about myself, but we're really excited that Tim's here from Ream. He's the regional sales manager of Utilities and Energy Channel. I've not heard that term, energy channel, which is really interesting, Tim. He's got 28 years with Ream. So I bet you have seen so much change in technology over those 28 years. And he focuses on driving high efficiency product solutions, which is what Walking Mountains and my position at Holy Cross is all about. And lately he's been introducing and promoting high efficiency and energy related water heating products to us utilities and the builder community. As we know, there is a huge growth in new construction, especially here in Colorado. So we obviously, Walking Mountains and all of our partners in Holy Cross are really promoting going all electric. So we're really excited to have Tim. He's sitting in St. Louis, and I will say he survived, what was it, an onslaught of 13 inches in 24 hours of rain. So he probably has duck feet by now. And so we're so happy to have you with us, and hopefully you guys are drying out now. So take it away.
Oh, well, thank you, Mary, and thank you, Nikki, and thanks for Walking Mountains as well as Holy Cross for inviting me to speak to you today. As Mary said, my name's Tim Goggin. I've been with Ream quite a while, and I've never seen a product that has been so wildly, I guess, accepted in such a short period of time. And as Mary mentioned, hybrid heat pump water heaters is what we're going to be discussing today. Now, I believe there is a chat box on this presentation. So if you do have questions, please put them in the chat box and there'll be ample enough time for me to address any questions that you may have after the presentation. So I will proceed. So why care about heat pump water heating? You know, the one thing I will tell you is that heat pump water heating has been out for decades. What is new, though, is the efficiencies have significantly increased in these products, as well as the functionality of these products. Okay, and it's obvious what's happening in the world today and has been happening for many, many years in regards to concern of the environment, and heat pump water heating really is a very noticeable product that can really help not only utility, but help the homeowner save energy. In fact, water heating is the second largest energy user in a home. Now, Ream as a manufacturer make other products, right? And we as a company have to recognize that of the products we make, 65% of that is the load on a house. So when we introduce products, we want to make sure that it really helps the homeowner. So, okay. So I was asked to speak today because really to overcome some barriers and some misconceptions in regards to things that may have happened years ago in perceptions on heat pump technology. For instance, heat pump water heaters won't work in a cold climate. Now, obviously, Colorado is really not that much different at all than the Midwest. Okay, you have your seasons, much like summer, winter, fall, and spring. But the way these units are actually designed to be installed within the home, not outside the home. So temperatures that get really, really cold typically do not impact these units. In fact, heat pump water heaters, specifically to ours, actually will work in temperatures as low as 38 degrees. Now, I'm not suggesting that someone challenge that, okay? Because if it's in the home, then you really need to get your temperature up, okay? It's too expensive. Yes, heat pump water heaters are a bit more expensive than a traditional resistor element heater. However, the efficiencies that these units provide significantly offset the extra cost in most cases within less than 2 years. Now, it's too loud. These units make noise. They do. But we have the quietest one in the market. It's 49 decibels. Now, 49 decibels for comparison is similar to just a conversation. In fact, this presentation, I guarantee, is over 49 decibels. So it's fairly quiet. Condensate water should be neutralized. The way heat pump water heaters work is it captures the residual heat within the air where it's installed. Okay, within warm air, there's moisture in most cases. In the case that it captures that, it creates condensate, but we have a way of dealing with that. And then a big concern with any water heater, I don't want to run out of hot water. Comparably, a 50-gallon resistor element compared to a 50-gallon hybrid, you're actually going to get more hot water from a hybrid heat water heater. Now, those are just some of the barriers that we've overcome, and it's really all about training and knowledge, right? So now, I understand there's some contractors on this call, so I put this slide in here, and a lot of this presentation will be contractor centric. But we made this product very contractor friendly. Now, this is our 5th generation of hybrid heat pump water heater. We learned a lot of things on the way from 1 to 5. And the one thing that's always been consistent, it's a 208, 240 volt. Now, we do have 2 options of a 30 and a 15 amp, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a moment. When transporting these units, previous models you had to stand up or it was going to mess with the compressor on top of the unit itself. We've learned from experience that not everybody has the ability to stand these up. So we made the compressor very robust where you can actually lay these down in the back of a truck and it will not impact or damage the unit at all. Can be placed against a wall. Okay, the way this unit is designed is that it has 0 clearance. Okay, so you can literally put it in the closet. Now, one thing you will not find on this slide, which I will address now, some resistance we've had in the past is, you know, the way these units are designed, especially with that compressor, there's refrigerant in there. And a lot of people were resistant to even work on these. And, you know, we recognizes that. So if anything would happen with the heat pump portion of this unit, which is at the very top of the unit, basically would do nothing more than a call in to Rheem directly. And we would validate that, yeah, you do have a compressor problem, which we've not really seen. But once we recognize that, you will get a brand new one for the remainder of the original warranty, which is 10 years. So I say that you will never have, I guess, an opportunity to really work or mess with that compressor whatsoever. We don't want you to remove the top. Okay, that's why we could say it's 0 clearance. And of course, being that it's 0 clearance, anything that you would actually work on this heater would really be nothing more than the control panel or the elements. Okay, so it's 100% plumber serviceable. Now let me dive into our brand new model called the Proterra. This model was introduced during the pandemic. In fact, it started hitting the market in July of 2020. And as I mentioned earlier, it has been the most successful launch of any product that we've made as long as I've been with the company or can remember. Now, for those of you that don't understand or aren't aware of how heat pump technology work, I've actually put a video in here. It's only a minute, but it will give you an idea of how this actually works. So bear with me. Okay. Hopefully you can hear it as well.
Introducing the new Rheem Hybrid Electric Water Heater. Here's how it works. A fan pulls air through the upper enclosure of the heat pump. The air passes through a filter to remove any debris or dust. Heat in the air is absorbed by eco-friendly refrigerant inside the evaporator coil. and cool, dehumidified air is exhausted. Refrigerant is pumped by a compressor through the refrigerant system. The compressor increases the temperature of the refrigerant, which is delivered to the condenser. The condenser tubing is wrapped around the water heater tank where heat is transferred from the refrigerant to the water. Rheem Hybrid Electric Water Heater installs as easily as a standard electric water heater. It also provides more hot water than most electric units and delivers it faster. Rheem's new hybrid electric water heaters. Savings, peace of mind, and convenience from the start.
Okay, now that again is applicable to all heat pump water heating technology. However, ours is the most efficient in the market. So let me proceed and explain a little bit more of kind of our platform of how we attract an audience and transform a market. Okay, so based on the model, we look at it kind of like a stool. We basically very important pillars such as smart, sustainable, and savings. So let's talk about smart. We know that as a manufacturer of water heating that typically you don't hear from a homeowner unless the water heater is not working or it's leaking. Okay, so we incorporated in a couple models of the Proterra a leak guard automatic shutoff, which we'll talk about in a moment. We also have leak sense, which will actually provide an audible as well as notification through an app for if it is leaking. Integrated Wi-Fi. Okay, this unit is a connected product. Remote control. No secret, I have teenagers. They're always on their phones. And there's a certain amount of people that live on their phones. You go to any restaurant, everybody's on their phone. So we feel that's a very important feature, but it allows the homeowner to be directly connected to their water heater. And of course, compressor and element health indicators. Knowing that it's a connected product, this unit will actually provide information to the homeowner, how much life is left in those elements. What does the inside tank look like? What is the glass lining? It's not going to tell you have like 10 days left before you have a problem. No, but it's going to give you whether it's in good shape or maybe you need to be looking at your water heater. And of course, the hot water availability. This is important, especially if you have teenagers that never get out of the shower. It won't tell you how many gallons you have left, but it'll tell you whether it's in a danger zone and needs to heat up, or if you have an ample amount of hot water, go ahead and take a shower. Now, another thing is sustainability. Now, that's so important these days. It's all you hear in the papers. You hear about decarbonization, sustainability. It is the highest efficient heat pump water heater in the country. Carbon footprint reduction. Now, what does that mean? That means the less energy it takes to operate this, the less energy the electric utility has to generate. And depending on what fuels they are utilizing to generate energy, hopefully not carbon-based or getting away from carbon-based, it's just less, so it's better for the environment. Energy usage tracking. Yes, this unit will actually share with you the energy that it is using on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. So people can adjust their hot water usage to save themselves money. And of course, Energy Star rated. And by the way, Rheem last year was the Energy Star Partner of the Year. Savings. That's a recurring theme throughout this entire presentation. It saves money and energy, obviously. Energy saving schedule, time of use. Depending who your local electric utility is, typically there are various rates based upon peak and non-peak. This unit will allow you to actually schedule to replicate what a rate schedule is from a utility. But that's more of a utility thing, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Built-in demand response. Okay, again, very much a utility focused. ability of this unit, where actually you can change the mode of operation in a two-way communication format, and vacation and away mode. So in the wintertime, or I should say, summer or winter, whenever people are leaving the home, they can actually put it in a vacation mode where the unit does not shut off, but goes into its lowest setting. And again, saving money. Now, I'm going to go over some of the models that we have available. And I think Nikki did identify that we have a builder model, which yes, we do. The Proterra really comes in 4 different sizes. In fact, we're the first to the market with a 40 gallon, but it goes from 40 up to 80 gallon. It is integrated Wi-Fi, 0 clearance, as I mentioned before, the widest range of ambient temperature for usage. So in a previous slide, you saw that, the unit will operate up to 37 degrees or as low as 37 degrees. There are built-in thermistors on the intake of this unit that if it recognizes temperatures coming in 37 degrees or lower, will turn the heat pump off. And that's to preserve the heat pump and preserve it from being damaged. But the elements will be the primary source of heating. Therefore, the homeowner would not recognize any disruption in the availability of getting hot water, but it would not work in the most efficient mode. I mentioned before, less than a 2-year payback, and of course meets the NEA Tier 3. And the NEA Tier 3 is an efficiency standard set up by NEA, and this unit will go to Tier 3 and leak detection ready. Now, what I consider the sweet spot is the Proterra. Okay, now the Proterra goes up to a 4.0 UEF, but I must say that that's really the 80 gallon unit. All the other units below 80 gallon go to a 3.75, which remains the most efficient product efficiency in the country. It is demand response ready, CTA 2045, which is definitely a utility feature for connectability. It's quietest, as I mentioned before, at less than 50 decibels, automatic maintenance alerts. You can get up to $4,800 energy cost savings over a 10-year period of time, being that this unit has a 10-year warranty. And of course, leak detection and shut off valve ready, and it meets the NEA Tier 4. Okay, now NEA Tier 4 really is the upper Midwest, so you're on the Canadian border. It meets that tier. And of course, the Proterra with the leak guard is just everything on the unit right out of the box. And if you'll notice on this unit at the very bottom, there's a little red circle that goes around the bottom, which we'll talk about in a minute, and that's what we call 360 protection, 360 degree protection, excuse me. And that is, basically only on this particular model. Now, very common question: what size is best for my home? Okay. We did a lot of calculations based upon all different temperatures within the country and incoming temperatures of water, and we've come up with more of a general rule of thumb where a 40 gallon will deliver 3 3 8-minute showers. 50 will give you 4, 65 and 80. Of course, that's going to vary based on showering, behaviors. But generally, as a rule of thumb, this is what we found to be the most successful. Now, this is the return on investment calculator. Okay, this is where the rubber hits the road. Now, the one thing you'll see on here, I did some checking in regards to pricing. We used a 50-gallon resistor element heater today versus a 50-gallon hybrid heat pump water today. I actually pulled the pricing right from your market yesterday. Now, on the first thing, you'll see the initial investment. You'll notice, yes, it is much more money to purchase a unit. This is not an installed cost. This is just the equipment itself. So you're close to what, $1,700 for the hybrid, where a standard resistor element is somewhere around $559, $560, maybe just slightly less than that, depending on where you're obtaining them. But where you really want to look is the annual operating cost. If the unit is used in the heat pump mode, okay, only, your hybrid costs on a yearly basis would be $95 to operate that unit. compared to a traditional resistor element heater, which is $536. Now, we also took into consideration some average kilowatt per hour costs, also some other incentives that may be in your market. But over the lifetime for 10 years, it will save the homeowner over $4,000, okay, $4,409 to be specific. So they're saving $441. In a previous slide, you said it takes less than 2 years to pay back. In this particular instance, it literally takes less than 8 months to pay back the difference. And now, as I mentioned, the kilowatt hour rate, that's going to vary, but we centered on 11 cents. There are incentives in your market, and since Holy Cross, Holy Cross has 500, and of course, Walkie Mountains has some other incentives that are out there. Now, being that we've recognized a 50-gallon, we've actually focused on $850. If the units become larger and the costs become larger, there are additional incentives applicable to the size of those units. Okay. Now, I wanted to show you or give you some visibility to what the Energy Guide's costs are. Okay, now this is again just a 50-gallon electric. Now this is a national average cost, which it's going to vary slightly per state or per area, but you'll see the hybrid, basically 867 kilowatts per year versus 3,500 kilowatts versus a standard resistor. Okay, now that's a national average. Now I took it one step further for gas. Okay, so obviously the one on the left is the hybrid, and then the one in the middle is a natural gas. You'll see it's actually going to cost, it's more than double of what a hybrid would cost. And the Energy Guide on the right, that's propane. I think that's self-explanatory right there. Now, messaging. Knowing we have a diverse group on this, I wanted to make sure that we have, we don't miss anybody. So from a plumber's perspective, the homeowner, the unit will talk to the homeowner via a free app or an audible alarm on the unit if something's going on. And therefore, it's built-in repeat business with that homeowner for the plumber. Sustainability, you're giving the consumer, the homeowner, the most efficient electric product that's in the market today. Savings pays for itself, less than 2 years, which I've already talked about. And it's designed for plumbers. The one thing I'll share with you, we have a whole team of master plumbers that are on our payroll that work exclusively for Rheem, that go around and do trainings locally. They go around nationally, and love for that opportunity in your area as well. Homeowners. As I said before, most people are connected to their phones. Therefore, it's a nice feature. More and more appliances within the homes are connected, and you'll see a significant increase in the near future with that as well. Sustainability. Basically, you're repurposing heat that already exists. Therefore, the energy consumption reduces significantly for the homeowner, and it reduces the carbon footprint. And savings, again, a recurring theme throughout this whole presentation. Now, from a builder's perspective, okay, we made the unit, the builder model, very a la carte. So if they want to provision it with leak sense or leak guard, they can't do leak guard. The unit won't accept it, but it can do leak sense. But since it's zero clearance, with the exception of 6 inches at the very top, because we'll talk about a media filter needs to be cleaned, it maximizes the living space. Sustainability. Designed to maximize HERS scores. Okay, now some on this call may be familiar with HERS scores, but it's, I guess in layman's terms, an overall energy envelope of the home. A heat pump water heater, and I'm going to say specifically the Proterra, will improve that score by 4 to 7 points in most cases. Okay, which is, there's a lot of incentives out there If you're dealing with raters, and Colorado is a big state for HERS ratings. We see that number increasing every year. So homeowners are becoming more and more aware of the advantages of energy efficient homes, excuse me. Savings, there's that recurring theme again. Now, from a homeowner's as well as a contractor's perspective, I felt it necessary to show you exactly what you'd be looking at when looking at the water heater. We made this about as functional as possible to operate. Okay, now you can see all the different buttons and things of what they do and how to adjust the unit. Now, as a manufacturer, you'll notice scald warning. We have to do that. We're always going to have the homeowner in mind first to make sure that they don't get injured. So of course, if they increase the temperature over 120 degrees, they'll get, or at 120 or above, they'll get the scald warning. The one thing I do want to address is the current mode, the modes of operation. You'll notice in the top left corner, that's the button there. So let's proceed. Modes of operation. So this unit actually comes with 5 modes of operation. The energy saver mode, which is the first one I've recognized, is the default mode. Now, the energy saver mode, actually the heat pump section of the unit, is the primary source of heating the water. The elements, however, are the backup. Now, this unit, based upon the algorithms of the unit itself, will determine when the elements actually go on. Now, the elements will not go on together. They are non-simultaneously wired, much like you'd see on a traditional water heater. We do that specifically to reduce the amp draw off the box itself. This unit will not pull more than 30 amps, okay, at any one time. Now, the heat pump mode delivers 1230 watts to the water at a standard ambient temperatures, okay? And as I said before, the operating temperatures, I already mentioned 37 degrees, but it can go up to 145 degrees. Now, of course, in Colorado, that it may not be applicable to you, but people in Texas, a lot of their water heaters are installed in attics. So we know that those temperatures can get fairly high, but we had to accommodate that for well. So high demand. Now, high demand basically means all the heating things within that unit itself, such as the heat pump and both elements, will rotate back and forth completely. And why would you put it in high demand mode? Meaning that you know you have guests over the weekend or you have people more in the house and be taking more showers. Now you can put that in high demand mode and it will actually give you more hot water than it would if it was in the energy saver mode. Now, all electric mode, you're taking the heat pump right out of it. Okay, the heat pump basically is not going to operate. Don't know why you would do that, but at least that is a thing that is provisioned in that heater. Now, the vacation mode, as I made reference to on a previous slide, you can actually take this unit, put it in the vacation mode, or run at 65 degrees up to 28 days. The nice part about this heater is that after the 28th day, it will revert back to the energy saver mode, which is the default mode. Let's say you forgot that you had it in vacation mode, it will go back to that. If you put it in high demand mode or all electric mode, once again, it will go back, but it will go back within 10 days. So this unit continuously finds ways to save the homeowner money. Okay, it's a very smart water heater. Now, this is just a real quick chart to look at and make your own assessment of what's the best mode to be in. I'm going to focus on energy saver mode because it is, high efficiency, fast recovery. If you put it in all electric mode, efficiency drops, recovery is fast as well. High demand, okay. The efficiency drops because you're rotating those elements in more than what it needs to, but it's very fast recovery. Okay. So these units can be vented, okay, or ducted, okay. In previous models, we incorporated the ducting provision on the sides of the units, but we found that 90 to 95% really aren't ducted, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And of course, we made the all redesign on the display for easy adjustments and troubleshooting. Now, As I mentioned earlier, you need 6 inches of clearance on the top to get out the media filter. Now, the media filter is not like an HVAC filter. It is a very pliable filter. So that's why we only require 6 inches, and it is very flexible. Okay. Now, we don't have replacements unless it cracks, but typically all you would need to do is vacuum this off or spray it out in the sink or stationary tub, and then you put it back in. Now, when do you do this? Well, it'll tell you when. It'll give you an audible alarm on the unit itself, as well as if it's actually paired up with the free app from us, it'll tell you on your phone that your filter needs to be cleaned. Leak sense, leak detection, okay? As I mentioned earlier, the only time you hear about water heating is if it leaks or it just stops working altogether. So we incorporated leak detection on a couple of these units. That will, avoid any type of premature damage. Now, for instance, this unit, let's say it's paired or it's installed next to let's say a water softener, and it gets what we call a false positive, where that wick at the bottom feels a little bit of moisture, and now your alarm goes off. You have the ability, once you identify that it wasn't leaking, to go in and reset it and just clear the alarm. Okay, you can override it, and it gives you enough time to correct why it got wet within 24 hours. Okay, now that's where you would actually connect your leak sense. That's the line that's tied in. Now, I'm going to give you an example of what happens here and how the leak guard comes into play. Let's say there is a spill, okay? The wick senses the moisture. Now it's going to send a message within 15 seconds over to the leak guard. The leak guard then will automatically turn on and shut the water off to the unit. Now, why is that important? Well, a water heater, think of it as a vacuum. If you have your hot water and all your faucets closed, it's a contained environment. So when you turn the water off, it suppresses the leak down to a trickle, if not a drip. And therefore, there's no damage done to wherever it's installed and typically can be replaced. Now, being that it's a mechanical device, we recognize that, hey, you know what? Not everybody has the greatest water, especially in the rural areas. It may have some high levels of calcium for hardness. This unit will actually open and close by itself every 48 hours, okay, to make sure that the valve itself is not seized or accumulates any type of calcium, so it doesn't work as it was designed, okay? Model lineup and specs. Now, this is just a real quick look at the size as well as the model numbers, although there are other ones. You can get these through wholesale. You can get them through retail. We're in all channels, to be honest with you. Now, here are some specifications. This is nothing, I know it's an eye chart, but I had to put it on here because I wanted to show you just 3 things. The first thing, of course, is the UEF. As I said earlier, we do recognize it goes up to a 4.0 UEF, but that's specifically to the 80 gallon. All other models will go down to a 3.75, which is still the best in the industry. Now, I mentioned earlier also is that we have a 15 amp model and a 30 amp model. The 30 amp model, really all we did is reduce the 4,500 watt element down to a 2250. That's all we did. Okay, and why did we have the 15 amp? Because we know that not everyone has a reliable 30 amp service. And we did not want to discount those that could probably benefit by the operation of this unit alone. EcoNet connectivity, right? So we talked about, what you have on the front of the unit, scheduling, the modes of operation. We have a free app that can get through the App Store. Once it's downloaded, the homeowner can actually download that app, and then they can pair it with the water heater themselves. And let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so it'll show you the temperature of the water, which you can change. Let's say, you're going to run it at 120, but you want to drop it down to 110, you can change that fairly easy. It shows you the hot water availability, modes of operation. total control of that unit. The one thing I'd like to focus though, not on the right-hand side, but on the left-hand side, scheduling, usage reports, and product health. So let's take a look at what that looks like. The scheduling feature allows users to program the water heater. They can change the temperature, they can change the mode of operation 4 different times during the course of a day. Okay. This is once the homeowner goes in and recognizes what their normal hot water patterns are, they can adjust their water heater to accommodate that. Usage reports. I told you earlier that a homeowner can actually see the energy being used, and here's a screenshot of actually one being used. It actually shows a week usage, and you can see by what you see on the screen is that likely they were gone that weekend, but you can see there was a spike back in Wednesday. And now they can actually change their pattern of behavior to save money. At least they have that option. And of course, product health, which is very important to the trade from the homeowner's perspective as well, is that, as I said before, won't tell you specifically if an element is going bad, but when you go on this app, it'll actually show you, hey, I maybe need to call the contractor. It looks like I'm in the red zone. Maybe this unit needs to be looked at. Maybe the elements do need to be changed. Okay, so it is a smart water heater. Now, installation. I mentioned earlier about ducting. These units can be ducted, okay? There was a previous concern I've heard in several calls. Well, this unit, you said it uses existing heat within a home. It's gonna make my home cold. Do I really want that in there? Well, our experience is that it will drop the temperature about 6 to 8 degrees. I've even heard instances where it dropped to 2 to 3 degrees. I've had instances where no one actually felt any of it at all because this unit needs 700 cubic feet of usable air for the heat pump to work properly. Okay, now what is that? That's a 10 by 10 room. Okay, now I had actually given you an example of putting in a closet. Now, if it's in a closet, that's fine. You can duct it, okay? Or you can put louver doors, which I have a slide that'll show you that as well. But you can actually duct this 125 equivalent feet. Now, that's not 125 inlet and outlet. That's a combination of both, okay? So where would you duct it? Okay, in Colorado, let's use that as an example. I'm not going to suggest you duct it inlet or outlet to the outside. Okay, remember I told you it's a built-in thermistor that'll turn it off at 37 degrees. You can, however, duct this into an area that maybe another utility room or an area that's not being used. I've had instances where people will actually duct the exhaust into a attached garage because your garages typically don't get below 38 degrees, okay? Inlet air, let's say it's in the closet, they need air. Well, they can pull air from anywhere in the house, whatever they want to do. Okay. Of course, we have all the accessories and parts that would need for installation of these units that are readily available. Now let's talk about installation with no ducting. Okay, that's option one. You have 700 cubic feet of air, you're good to go. Put in your utility room, that's fine. Option two, this is where you actually put this in a closet. And let's say the closet would only want a louver door on the top. That's fine, as long as you have a 3/4 inch gap at the bottom, because when you look at this, you have to figure air in, air out, because you are moving air with this product. Now, if you do use it with only louvered ducting at the top, you have to make sure that your exhaust, what you're dispelling, is aimed at that vent, okay? If you don't do that, you're going to develop back pressure in that unit, which will ultimately affect the pump itself, and the elements will kick on more frequently than what's really needed. Option three is what I always recommend if you're using a closet. Now you don't have to worry about positioning the outlet towards the ducting, because basically you'll have ample enough air to operate this unit as a standalone. So to recap, it has the highest efficiency product in the country. It is the quietest, zero clearance for installability, connectivity, whether it's to the homeowner or to the utility. leak detection and prevention, best recovery in the country, as well as a 10-year warranty on this unit. So I will stay online, and if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them for you. Or I can go back to the slides if you'd like and address. So I appreciate everybody's time this morning, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Tim, so much for that. Really informative. I actually learned a lot too. So it's really good. And I can pass that on to our members as we start promoting these heat pump water heaters a little bit more seriously now that we understand them all and know that they work in our climate. So there's only a couple of people, Patricia or Mike, anybody, we can, if you want to raise your hand, we can unmute you if you have any questions, any comments. Don't forget, there's really good rebates with Walking Mountain Science Center, Holy Cross, Excel, Energy, Core, City of Glenwood. So, check with, whatever utility there is, and then the local nonprofits. So you can definitely get multiple rebates, which make that ROA, as we already saw, can definitely get under a year. So any questions? Doesn't appear. Looks like you did such a great job, Tim, that we just don't have questions. So I guess we'll give you guys back your 10 minutes. I know everybody's really busy. We want to thank Tim again. We will send out the recording and the slides to everybody, and even those that didn't quite make it, as we know everybody is so busy. But Tim, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to meeting you in person and doing something live. And I'm sure we can always talk people to come to Colorado, especially the Western Slope. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great day, and we might have a little rain here. So.
All right. Have a good rest of the week, everybody. And thanks for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Yeah,
thank you, Tim.
Bet. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.